Good morning, Rio Grande Center for Spiritual Living.
Good morning, Brian.
Hey, that means everybody come on in and get settled down. Turn off all your little noisemakers and clickers and beepers and all the stuff that does what it does. If you're joining online, thank you for being here. Welcome. All right, we don't have any parade permits. You guys got to come in and sit down. I am Brian Kurtz. My pronouns are he and him, and I'm thrilled that all of you guys are here today. I'm grateful that you're all joining us either here or online. And we're doing some Dios de los Muertos today. We got a special band with Susan Clark and Victor and Maria and John. It was so much fun. For those of you who get here a little early, we got some musical treat. And you guys missed it. But it's coming, and it's worth hanging around and paying attention to. Our tech team, we got Robert helping out on the board and the keyboard and the computer today. Thank you, Robert. And I'm not gonna start blaming Sue. Sue was wonderful, but it looks like it's actually happening with Robert. So Robert, you may be stuck with the job for a little while. We also got Cheryl Ray, who's going to be featured in another segment of announcements in just a minute, handling the board. We've got, who do we have? We got our kitchen angels. We got Doug as greeter. We got Carmela and Talia here holding space. And we've got Talia who's going to be leading our vision and mission statements. We got Reverend Kamatara bringing her message today. And also another piece of information from Cheryl Ray. Cheryl is our featured artist in the bookstore this month. Also, bookstore note, if it's your birthday month, and I know for some of you it is, you get 10% off in the bookstore. Don't look for Science of Mind magazine yet, though. It's still kind of delayed, but we're working on that. Let's see. Gilbert, what am I forgetting? Oh, let me show you Cheryl's work. By the way, it's Special Hat Day, first Sunday of the month. Some of it's a necessity for some of us. Keep the glare down. I would put this on, but I think I'll just kind of do this. This is part of Cheryl's work. This is part of Cheryl's work. There are doilies that Cheryl's made. So help the bookstore and help Cheryl this month. And she's awesome. She does great work. And we are also having an Election Day Holding the Peace event. There's a whole lot of conflict and tension and angst and stuff about the election going on right now. And our job is to remain present, knowing that we and the world are all whole and perfect and complete. And at our soul nature, at our essential nature, we are bigger than the conflict. We are bigger than the mess that people are trying to create to get us to vote a certain way or not vote a certain way. And it's about the United States and one people, not just here in this country, but for the planet. So let's get down into a meditation place, which are going to be available 10:15 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. here. There'll be meditations 10:30 to 12, 12:30 to 2, and 2:30 to 4. If you can be here for that and just bring your soul, bring your heart, bring your love, bring that spirit that's bigger than the circumstances, you will be very much more than welcome. Let's see, what else can I say? I've got a message here saying to bring this to the Solid Grounds community. No. Is there another message for the Solid Grounds community? No? Okay, good. Thank you. Be patient waiting for Science of Mind magazine to get here. It really is. It really is coming. And Thanksgiving Day around noon-ish, we're going to have a dinner. On the back table is a list of blanks for you to sign up and say, I'm going to bring such and such a dish that will help everybody enjoy their day. I'll be here that day because I got nowhere else to be on Thanksgiving Day. And there are a whole bunch of us who don't have a place to go. So if you're one of those folks, we welcome you. Anything else I'm forgetting? I think we're good. Thanks, everybody.
Good morning. If you'd please stand, we're going to do a little congregational, invocation first. Sorry. Uh-oh. I'm just so excited. I was jumping ahead. I didn't get the memo.
Oh, so as Brian was talking about the oneness, let us move into that oneness within us. Let us pause for the stillness to begin. And let us welcome in all of the departed and the ancients. Our beloved ones and the great central sun. The oneness that reigns in love and peace within our hearts and within all of existence. And let us grow that oneness so that it embraces and envelops every single soul that you encounter. Like you are perceived to be unlike you, for truly we are all one. And today, as we honor our departed, it is the oneness that we receive, we welcome, and we are. For we are all one with them and they with us. There is no departure. There is only change. And we can open to that change, for it grows us. And it fills us as we allow. And so I call upon that great oneness within you. And with all of those beloved golden spirits that we welcome and we honor here today, brothers and sisters, fathers, mothers, aunties, uncles, and four-leggeds and non-leggeds, and all of them, our angelic realm, and all those we do not even know. And so, in this golden space of oneness, let us open our space here at the Rio Grande Center for Spiritual Living in oneness and in welcome to all that is and that may be. And so it is. I hope.
Okay. Thank you, Talia. And now, if you would please stand. Now it's time. This is one of my songs, but we've done it quite a bit. So I'm lucky to have Maria and Victor and John to do it with me today. So I kind of wrote this song in my sleep, actually. I should say it wrote itself in my sleep. Ancient voices call to me. I can hear them in my dreams, telling me the soul lives on, long after my body's gone. The soul lives on and on and on, carries me to higher ground, never lost, always found. The soul lives on and on and on. The soul lives on.
Ancient voices call to me.
Ancient voices call to me.
I can hear them in my dreams.
I can hear them in my dreams,
telling me that love lives on, long
after the hatred's gone. Love lives on and on and on, carries me to higher ground, never always found. Love lives on and on and on. Love lives on. Kuda Sheombe. Ancient voices call to me. Ancient voices call to me.
I can hear them in my dreams.
I can hear them in my dreams,
Telling me that peace lives on.
long after the wars are gone. Peace lives on and on and on, carries me to higher ground. Never lost, always found. Peace lives on and on and on. Peace lives on. Pei wano hey. Ancient voices call to me. Ancient voices call to me.
I can hear them in my dreams.
I can hear them in my dreams.
Telling me the soul is on.
Long after my body's gone, the soul lives on and on and on, carries me to higher ground. Never lost, always found. The soul lives on and on and on. The soul lives on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Pe wano he kuda sheombe. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Again, welcome to the Rio Grande Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Kamatara. My pronouns are she and her, and I serve as the Director of Collaborative Ministries here. Fancy way of saying staff minister, helping with all sorts of wonderful things. So very excited to be with you this morning. And to start with, I know that we have a lot of amazing guests and family and friends and beautiful people in the congregation today, and then also online. Good morning. So if you want to say hi in the chat, go ahead and type in there. We're so happy that you're all here this morning. So we'd like to start with some of the principles of science of mind, which is a teaching, a faith, a philosophy, a way of life that we work on together in the spiritual community. So we talk about maybe 4 basic concepts. There's far more, but if we had to pick out, science of mind greatest hits, this is what we're looking at. So first off, we do believe that there is only one power in the universe, and that it's known by many names. Pick your word. The word doesn't matter so much as, perhaps that there is this something greater going on, this something sacred that is. We also believe that thought is creative, so we take care of what is in our minds, and we keep going back to spiritual truth when we get out of alignment, and certainly not beating ourselves up for when we maybe show up as a little more rugged than we would care for. That's part of why we're in the spiritual community together. We support each other, love each other, remember the truth for each other. And one of those truths is also that everything in this life is either love or a call for love. We really appreciate that concept from A Course in Miracles, so thank you very much, dear kindred spirits. Yes, that everything is love or a call for love, and sometimes I'm the one giving the love, and sometimes I'm the one needing that love. So thank you for all the ways that you have loved me. And also, we believe that each one of us is whole, perfect, and complete exactly as we are right now. We don't need to be rescued, saved, or fixed. We are the divine expressing right now, so how could it be anything less than perfect right now? So we come here together to remember who and what we are, to see the truth for each other until we can see it for ourselves. And we're so grateful to share this sacred time together, this fun time with amazing music and message and the ofrenda, the altar that we have, and the awesome food we're going to have today. And it's just an amazing celebration of life and death today. So let's take a moment to just bless all the people who are here right now and the people who might see this video later. This time is an illusion. Lunchtime doubly so. That's Douglas Adams, by the way. I can't take credit for that. All right, so we're going to take a moment to bless everyone who's here. And for those of you who feel comfortable, you can rub your hands together. You can put your hands up. You can give each other the loving eyes that you have. All right. We see you. We see you. We know who you really are. You are a unique emanation of spirit. We love you. We appreciate you. We thank God for you. Welcome home. Thank you. So now it's time for our mission and vision, led by our practitioner, Talia. Closer to the mic.
Oh, can you hear me now? Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So now it's time for our vision statement. And our belief. Oh, it is time for our vision statement. Okay, let us all say it together. Our vision statement, transforming our world with the power of love in action. Mission statement, loving all creation through spiritual growth and service. Always staying true to our highest self. Now I'm going to give you a reading, but I have to go get it. Okay, so as you all know, we have our Day of the Dead observance, but you may not all know that the Day of the Dead also fell on the day of the new moon. And so some of us may see meaning in that. If I forget, just wave your hand, okay? All right. So, because the new moon and the Day of the Dead coincide, it is believed in some quarters that this invites us to be introspective in order to connect with our own deep emotional power. For that is the power that each one of us holds. The new moon can trigger intensity, even power struggles, projection, fear, and anxiety. But it also invites us, and bear in mind that the new moon is the period that we are in now through the 7th of November. So it also invites us to even be more than that, to honor our ancestors, yes, and to all of those who have gone before us in love and in honor, and also to reconnect with our allies, so helpful in our lives on multiple levels. And even more, as we join in honoring those who have gone before us, we also look to our own new beginnings with the love and support of our allies. And we may use the focus of death to consider a completion, a release of anything and everything that we need to release and dissolve, so we can make sacred space in our lives, in our energy, in our ethereal field, and use the death to complete and reset and rebirth and begin again. And so now, let us pause for just one moment in order to go into that space for ourselves. Thank you. Now I have a second reading for you. Okay. And this is about creating meaning with empathy and connection. So, as we are considering a new beginning and a moving forward, and having completed perhaps some portion of work in our lives, let us do so with meaningful connection. For this is the time to also acknowledge the connections that we have, the deep and authentic bonds between ourselves and others. A meaningful connection, just to be explicit, is characterized by mutual understanding, trust, and respect. In meaningful connection, we share our genuine thoughts, our authentic feelings and experiences. And we also create spaces that enable us to be vulnerable and open, and thus to grow. And this openness fosters a sense of being seen and heard for who we truly are. And so it is. And that completes my reading. Thank you for reading this. Thank you.
Sure. Do you want to introduce it?
Yeah, sure. As this song is called La Bruja. It's not really a Halloween song, but it could be. It's about kind of related to La Llorona, which is a Oaxacan tradition in Spanish. And the instruments we play is interpretation of the Spanish Baroque guitar by the native people of Mexico. And the altar, as I understand it, was a respect for death brought about many, many years before the word Mexico was applied to that land. The tradition of making the Holy Cross on the Day of the Dead or the night before comes from one of the oldest people here they call Mexica, a general term, but the originators of the Southwest and Mexico. So this song just we laugh a little bit at how scared we get when we use the word witch, back and forth and use it lightly, That's what the song says in Spanish. Go, La Bruja. Ay, qué bonito es volar a las 2 de la mañana, a las 2 de la mañana. Ay, qué bonito es volar, ay mamá, volar y dejarse caer en los brazos de una dama. Ay, qué bonito es volar tentaciones de chuparme a usted. A la bruja me encontré, en el aire iba volando, en el aire iba volando. A la bruja me encontré, ay mamá, entonces le pregunté a quién andaba buscando. Me dijo, ¿quién es usted? Soy cantador de guapango, ay mamá, escondete chepa, escondete buena, que anda la bruja debajo de la cama. Escóndete, chepa, escóndete, joba. Allá anda la bruja volando en su escoba. Ay, dígame, dígame, dígame usted, ¿cuántas criaturitas se ha chupado usted? Ninguna, 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 no sé. Ando en pretensiones de chuparme a usted. La bruja.
It's Maria Dion and Victor Padilla, John Challen. Thank you.
Wow. Well, but what better way to say bienvenidos a nuestra celebración de la vida y la muerte? Wow. So welcome to our celebration of life and death. And those are so intricately tied together, very inseparable. And as some of you may have experienced, if your childhood was like mine, we all know how rare it is to talk openly about death, especially in the United States. It's, for most cultures, it's the elephant in the room. It's really unspoken. Most of us don't have skills when it's in the arena of death. We don't have practices. There's no coping techniques for before, during, and after death. Just good luck. Or no, we're not going to talk about it. Nope. So go to the funeral, at the end. And that's a wrap. What? Right, 2 days off of work. Good luck with that. Okay, so just take a moment to think, do the little field scan of your life and the different experiences you had with death growing up. Were they helpful, transparent, supportive, helped you to process what was going on in this life and the next? And if you're saying yes, that's amazing. I would love to learn more of what that was like for you. I think for most of us, it really just wasn't. When my brother died by suicide 30 years ago this summer, there was just nothing to help process it, nothing to help. My husband took me actually to Harney Peak, and we went camping, and just, wild, amazing, powerful things happened in nature while I was there. And some of that helped me, through the grace of God, just be okay enough to function. And over the course of the 30 years, I could count on my one hand and probably not use all my fingers for how many times my family has spoken about his passing. But this summer, when my father passed in early August, it was an entirely different experience. I feel like as a society as a whole, we're a lot more open now about talking about death, or we have more words, or we have more practices, or we have all different cultures that we're valuing and honoring. So we get to have this rich experience, especially in the Southwest, of some very healthy practices surrounding death that other folks may not have in their family lineup. So it was really interesting this summer in August, being able to speak with my 2 remaining brothers and my mom, and having very open conversations about dad and processing and coming together. And that memorial service was epic, and it was amazing, and it did everything that I would need and want it to do. It was a totally different experience. So I hope you'll really consider, as we think through things this morning, what would be helpful for you and your loved ones to have this be a beautiful transition, for it to not dismiss stuff, bury, all the cloak and dagger subterfuge, hidden behind, everything's in the dark. How would we do the opposite of that? In fact, I love this quote: when you bring your shadow into the light, it no longer has that kind of unchecked power over you. So maybe even consider any kind of fear, angst, confusion, or tether that you might still have tied to an old experience with death. And if there's a way to midwife that and heal that. And that's part of why having these kind of traditions are so important, or this time of year when we're at the turn of the seasons and changing the clocks, and there's very little difference between the light and the dark, or they say the veil is very thin between the living and the dead. And so we're welcoming spirits and introspection into our lives right now. And so in the Catholic tradition, we've got All Souls and All Saints Day. And with our pagan friends, it's Sauron. And with folks in the Southwest, but especially Mexico, is Dia de los Muertos. This is that time to take time to be uncomfortable, to get comfortable, but being uncomfortable, sitting with death, having tea with death, and really seeing what there is, because what happens in our life, it impacts our death, and what happens in death impacts our lives. There's no separation there. So this morning I'm hoping to review some of the traditions from Mexico, but as Victor already explained, these are actually ancient. They're older than the country, so that was a great way to frame that up. And I'm also going to share some opportunities where you could engage with death in Albuquerque, to have some experiences to maybe help normalize talking about death or getting prepared for the inevitable. And then also offer some perspectives, science mind perspectives on death. So first of all, the phrase is Dia de los Muertos. So that literally means Day of the Dead. And what's interesting to me is that that's single, dia, like day. But now I see that people are celebrating it like a whole bunch of days, and that this day is for this, and this day is for that, and this day is for this. I don't know. So you're just going to have to do what's right for you. But in my experience, and when we've done Dia de los Muertos here, it's been on November 1st. And that would be the day basically of welcoming the spirits of our loved ones to be with us. So the ones who have been deceased. So that way we can have, communications and gratitudes and perhaps forgiveness, and to remember stories, and of course to pass on the stories to the next generation. So that way there is that through line of all our ancestors and our memories. And so making altars or ofrendas like we have over here, our group ofrenda. Thank you for everyone who brought beautiful things to share. Our ofrendas, families might build them at home, or they might be at the grave site. I know in our house we have a continuous ofrenda, like it goes along the entire piano and then onto another table, and then as people pass, we just keep adding either mementos or pictures or different things, whether four-legged or two-legged. Like we just always have an ofrenda up. And honestly, it's really beautiful because I walk by and I see my old prayer partner, Toby, and I'm like, hey, dude, good to see you. And I know I can hear him saying, hey, kiddo, the way he used to call me. He's a little older than I was, so it was very sweet. So it's helpful to be surrounded by that. But I also understand that oftentimes ofrendas like this one are very temporary. And it could be communal, it could be at the grave site itself. And typically they're decorated, as you're seeing, with photos, candles, marigolds, food, and items that the deceased one loved. And basically all of this is not only to welcome spirits back to the living world, but also it's that vehicle for remembrance and storytelling. We love telling stories. It's so important for our hearts and for our minds to tell stories. So to start with some of the symbols, usually there's marigolds. You can see the beautiful orange, bright flowers. They're known as the flowers of the dead, and they are believed to guide spirits to the altars because they have such vibrant colors and strong scents. The practical mama in me says, those are the flowers that bloom right now, so that's great. All right, so that works too. It all comes together. We're very practical. All right, and then you'll see the skulls, the calaveras, and I'm told that there's a whole bunch of these little coloring cutouts that are going to be in the social hall. And I think this is a Miguelito special, so I feel very honored to have Miguelito coloring this. But calavera means skull, and the decorative skulls are often made from sugar or chocolate or whatever art form you want to take, but it symbolizes that death and rebirth. And the bright colors are, the vibrancy of life. Sometimes people will put the names of the deceased loved one on the skull. And that reminds us, of course, to celebrate the sweetness of life and death. Oftentimes you'll see a particular skeleton that's named La Katrina. Have you ever seen the really elegant, and she's usually dressed, muy fancy, right? Okay. And it's satirical. It's kind of a funny poke, just like we would laugh at La Bruja and the things that scare us. We also can laugh at, us silly humans who want to take it with us. So you'll see the skeleton dressed in all different ways, but typically very elegant with that, outrageous hat and the dress and then the bones. Like, yup. Not going with you, babe. Just newsflash. Okay, so it's just funny, and also it also represents, in a deeper way, like the equalizing nature of death. Also, there's all different foods that you'll see. There could be pan de muerto, which means bread of the dead, and it's a sweet round bread. It's often decorated with bones, and it's on the altar or it's shared with the family. And of course, breaking bread together is so important because we can remember our loved ones, and that kind of breaking of bread and sharing stories and the things we do at that point nourishes our souls and also that of our ancestors or the spirits who are here. In addition to that food, usually there's traditional foods like tamales or mole or fruit. You can see the little oranges, little tangerines on there on the altars because it's supposed to nourish the visiting spirits, but also bringing the foods of your loved ones to share with each other is so wonderful because then, again, a vehicle for story, a vehicle for remembering. And for those of you who made food for today, how did it feel making that food? Yeah. And remembering your loved one as you're making that special thing. And I was struggling to think, what would I bring for my dad who passed this summer? It took me a while. I had to really think about it. And I was like, peanut M&Ms and candied raisins, but not together. Okay. So there, it's a special moment to remember what they loved. Another thing that you'll see on altars are papel picados. So if you look over at the altar, it looks like a little banner, and it's got the colorful paper hangings that are all cut out. Those are papel picados. So typically, they're tissue paper, and they're cut with the intricate little designs, often depicting the skeletons, the skulls, the floral patterns. But what I love about it is that it represents the the brilliant beauty of life, but also the delicacy or fragility of life, because they're so fragile. And it's just beautiful. I love that juxtaposition. You'll also see, of course, candles and incense. The candles are supposed to act as a beacon, guiding the spirits back to their families. And sometimes you'll get one candle for each loved one that you're honoring, or there'll be incense, not only to purify the area, but also, again, with its aroma to welcome the spirits back. And then also in the native tradition, as we send our prayers up to the Great Spirit, we know that the smoke rises and it blesses everyone. So there's some beautiful traditions, and certainly, you may have seen, depending on how close you live next to the cemetery, that it is one heck of a party in the cemetery, which I love the concept of, like, we're going to go to the cemetery and have a party. When I go to visit my brother Joe, and now when I go back, I'll visit my dad. It's just fantastic, cleaning up the gravesite and, sitting down and having a picnic and maybe singing some songs and just having a great time there. So it's really powerful when there are vigils or cemetery visits. Some people do that overnight. Some people just do it for a portion, but it's really powerful to go back to or if there isn't a gravesite, you could go to that special place, whatever that is. There's power in that place. I think my favorite example of experiencing all the ofrendas and Dia de los Muertos, well, there's huge stuff that was happening in Albuquerque last weekend and this weekend. I hope you got to have some fun in Old Town and all the different events that were going on in the National Hispanic Cultural Center, and oh my gosh, it was amazing. But my favorite experience was when I was in Mesilla a few years ago, and they're still doing it because I just saw pictures online from Reverend Bonnie down there, and also Michael and Tim, who used to go here, who moved to Las Cruces. They had awesome pictures on their Facebook, too, of just all the Dia de los Muertos stuff that's happening in Las Cruces area. But in Mesilla, what they did is, around the plaza, instead of it being like a farmer's market with all the booth of people selling, it was ofrenda, 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 ofrenda. It was amazing. Anyone who wanted to build a family ofrenda did that. And then what was awesome, it was like a museum of souls. As you walk around the plaza, the family members are sitting at the ofrenda, and you'd say, oh, tell me about your loved one. And they would just share all these awesome stories, like, yeah, he used to eat SpaghettiOs right out of the can, and then fix Chevys and loved lowriders, and they would tell us funny stories, and we'd just be laughing and crying, and just like this huge communal thing. It was so powerful going to each ofrenda. And just the power of that is so healing and healthy. And then each year that we get to do that, maybe it gets a little easier. I don't know. I know they say time heals all wounds, and that always makes me very salty. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Okay. But I'll just reframe that a little bit. Human time might not. Like, it's 30 years later, and something will hit me hard, and I will be a little puddle on the floor for my brother. And that's very real, and I don't want to dismiss it because, like, that was 30 years ago, as opposed to something that, let's say, happened this week. Equal weight, still hits me equally. But maybe there's an eternality of time that could heal all wounds. So I really want you to think, what healthy practices do you have and what might be missing in your life? Because we certainly, most of us are a little closer to the outdoor than the indoor. So it's definitely time to consider. So in Albuquerque, there are some amazing opportunities. In fact, the first weekend of every month, there is a death cafe. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's just an open time where folks get to have open conversations about death. It's from 2 until 4 the first Saturday of the month. It's at the First Unitarian campus on Carla and Comanche, where the Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living meets. So you know that campus. It's really informal. You sit in a circle. It's an open discussion. Whatever folks want to talk about related to death is what you end up talking about. It is facilitated. It's typically led by Gail Rubin, who actually is a national leader in the Death Cafe movement. And she's an author and just an all-around amazing person. In fact, right now, she and a lot of death workers in town are running the Before I Die festival. It's been on for 2 days. It's today, and then also there's 2 more days left, so it goes to tomorrow. And mark it on your calendars. It's in early November. It's amazing. So it's all different talks, field trips, events, panels, workshops, all related to death and dying. You can learn about hospice care and medical assistance in dying and will preparation and funeral planning and grief counseling and death doulas. And they have movie nights. So last night we watched the movie 2 Weeks with Sally Fields. Oh, it's so good. Look it up. I was unhinged. But it's a good movie. It's really well done. The mom has, 2 weeks left to live, and her children come in, and the hospice worker is there, and it's very real what you're seeing. It's well written and well done. So again, getting into normalizing the experience of death is really helpful. Also, the Bernalillo County Office of Senior and Social Services, that is a mouthful. If you even type in Bernalillo County, it'll come up. They have an end-of-life planning class. It says, a life well lived deserves a thoughtful and purposeful exit strategy. So the topics include downsizing, medical care and dignity in your final year, healthcare directives, estate and funeral planning, and on and on and on. It's presented by a gal named Jane Westbrook. She's an aging in place specialist and an end-of-life advocate. So the class just ended, but I'm sure if there's going to be one next semester, and if there isn't, if enough people ask, they will make one. So I also want to encourage you, look for services that you might need. There's a lot of grief recovery support services or groups, whether online or in person. Counselors, practitioners, ministers that are helpful, death doulas. In fact, right in Albuquerque, we have death doula professionals where you could talk to Brooke or Danielle. They're amazing women. Or hospice care, like Bosque Trails Hospice. I just met Natalie yesterday, and she was talking about the 5 wishes, which is really interesting. I know CSL has done some classes on the 5 wishes. So there are lots of opportunities to get prepared and to get the support that you need. So let's bring it back to science of mind, because that's why we're here, the spiritual teaching, faith, philosophy, way of life, kind of pulled together by Ernest Holmes. So in the science of mind view, death is not an end, but a transition. It's a continuation of the soul's journey beyond the physical plane, that life and death are just part of a larger, continuous spiritual process. So yes, the physical body may die, but the soul or the spirit persists eternally in a non-physical form. So that way we get to move on to new experiences. So he wrote, there is no death, but only a continuous transition in life from one form to another. So this means that the soul or consciousness cannot be extinguished, but rather just changes form in the ongoing cycle of life. It's very different than Hinduism. I'm just going to throw that out there, where you dissolve back into the nothingness and don't almost exist. I know I'm not saying it the fancy way, but that's a very pedestrian way of saying it. Whereas in Science of Mind, we really believe that the soul continues forth, that consciousness is going. In fact, in our We Believes, it says we believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul forever and ever expanding. Let me say that a different way. My individual soul is eternal, immortal, and continuous, which means I am eternal, immortal, and infinite right now. It doesn't just magically happen when you die. It's not like a switch gets flipped on and oh, now you're dead and you're eternal. You're eternal right now. You're infinite right now by a very definition. All right, so another awesome quote from Ernest Holmes: life is a continuous experience, a limitless possibility, and a deathless reality. So I think that deathless reality is where we're moving beyond the limitations of a physical body into that new, freer experience, allowing the soul to transcend into greater realms of existence, whatever that is. We don't know, just so you know. Okay, We don't know. So that's where you get to come in and see what you think. We have people that have had very specific experiences, near-death experiences, or some people are more intuitive or psychic, or all different experiences people have had. That's amazing. That's why Science Mind is open at the top. We know that we don't know. But we have a sense that there is something greater or more and different that isn't going to use these fleshy spacesuits, as Ram Dass would call it, my little fleshy spacesuit. So I do appreciate that Ernest Holmes said, "What we return to the Father's house, which was never far off, but always near." So this view sees death not as a separation, not as loss, but as reuniting with larger spiritual consciousness or source, the divine presence from which we originate. It's the ultimate homecoming. So this transition, yes, it's from the physical existence to whatever is next. And we hope, I would think, that whatever is next is something amazing. So this time of transition would be a time for great joy and wonder. And I always think of the quote from J.M. Barrie's most famous novel, Peter Pan: "To die would be an awfully great adventure." Obviously, for the loved ones that are still in the physical plane of reality, there is a lot of grief and mourning that happens. We grieve because we loved. And it's such a painful blessing. And if we could hold that at the same time, that's where the bounty and richness is. So I want to end with a favorite quote from Ernest Holmes from The Science of Mind, page 387, if you're playing along at home. It's meant to comfort people who are grieving. So perhaps just bring your deceased loved one to mind, whether recently deceased or long, long ago. Just think who you're honoring today in the altar that's in your heart, and consider these words from Ernest Holmes. "It is human to grieve the loss of dear ones. We love them and cannot help missing them, but a true realization of the immortality and continuity of the individual's soul will rob our grief of hopelessness. We shall realize that they, our loved ones, are in God's keeping. They are safe. We shall know that loving friends have met them and that their life flows on with the currents of eternity. We shall eventually feel that we have not lost them. They have only gone before. So we shall see them, so we shall view eternity from the highest standpoint as a continuity of time forever and ever expanding until time as we now experience it shall be no more." And then he says time heals all wounds, but let me just reframe that. Eternal time heals all wounds, adjusts conditions, and explains facts. Time alone satisfies the expansion of the soul, reconciling the visible with the invisible. We are born of eternal day, and the spiritual sun shall never set upon the glory of the soul, for it is the coming forth of God into self-expression yet again. We're going to take this time now to bless our ofrenda. So I'm going to ask the ministers and practitioners in the room if you'll stand and help us have that visual of how the arms of the divine are around you in beautiful blessing. And also if you'll take a moment to again remember the loved one who's either physically on this altar or on the altar of your heart. And take a moment to turn inward and drop into that place where you know that there is just one loving source, the all that is, this thing that I choose to call God. And it is this something sacred going on here, expressing in all of life as we know it and even beyond what I can understand. I know that each person is an expression of the divine. And this morning we pull forth the memory, the heart space, the stories, the blessings of our loved ones who have gone before. Opening up our hearts and minds, knowing that there is continuity of consciousness. I know that each one of us is still wholly connected to these loved ones. That each person that's been in and through our lives has been, still is, an amazing blessing in all their messy goodness. That the folks in our lives that we remember today, it doesn't matter if they were good times, bad times, hard times, ugly times, all of it was formative, important, rich, and such a blessing. And so we take this moment to give thanks to these precious people who are in our lives, to give thanks for the lessons that we learned through our experiences together, the ways that our lives were enriched for having known them, and the way they still are connected to our hearts and minds. Such a blessing. And I also speak my word for those who are experiencing deep grief, to know that that grief is important and good, to be fully experienced and cherished, to know that grief is a big portion of love torn open right there, and it's okay. And to know that the arms of the divine are around you in your grief and around all the loved ones who may be grieving at this moment. And that this too shall pass. And one day it will be a little bit easier. And the stories will come forth with a little more joy and a little less sadness. And our hearts open and grow every time we get to have that beautiful experience of grieving and remembering and honoring and celebrating the life of this precious loved one. And this is the deal. This is how being human works. This is how being eternal works. This is the rub and the blessing all at the same time. And so as we lean into each other today on this sacred day of celebrating our loved ones, I know that all the food we eat today and the stories we share in the social hall and the laughing and the crying and all of it together is divinely guided and blessed and oh so healing. So I give thanks for this spiritual community. I give thanks for this beautiful tradition that we get to take part of, and for all the healthy practices related to death. Because dying is divine too, just as much as living. So giving thanks for the whole kit and caboodle, for the whole way this works, knowing that all is well, I let it go and let it be. And so it is. Amen. Thank you, practitioners and ministers. And I do understand, I'm aware of the time, we are running over and we're all going to get through this. It's okay. So we've got a few more things to do this morning together before we have our beautiful food together. So it is our time to share our abundance. For those of you joining us online, there are multiple ways that you could give. They're going to be scrolling across the screen in just a moment. For those of you who donate on a regular basis, we really appreciate all that you are sharing electronically. There are also baskets up here where you can give as well. And after our giving, then we also are going to have some announcements from our Come Together team. But for right now, let's take a moment for some special music and for giving in the baskets, and we're going to kick it off with our affirmation of abundance. So let's go ahead and say it together, but con un amo fuerte. Say it like you mean it. Okay. I am abundant, and I give from my abundance. I am prosperous, and I give from my prosperity. I am blessed, and I give from my blessings. My blessings of spirit are as abundant as the stars, and so I give and receive generously. And so it is. Awesome. Thank you.
This song is called Busca Pies, and there are many, many verses to Son Jarocho songs, dozens, literally. And you can make your own up, you know. And my teacher, my maestra, Laura, she told me that I love these verses, and now I hope I can sing them, that they're very, very old, and they're about love, and they're just beautiful. She said, you know, kind of Baroque, so kind of imagine like in Spain, you know, like Baroque ladies dancing or something. So, but we've added other instrumentation, which makes it fun. Okay. Al pie de un verde limón puse madurar un higo, puse madurar un higo. Al pie de un verde limón, ¿qué dice tu corazón? Se quedó, se va conmigo, que no le da compasión de verme a tus pies rendido, que no me da compasión de verme a tus pies rendido. Corté la flor de la cuyo por saber a lo que olía, por saber a lo que olía. Corté la flor de la cuyo, ya no me sabe el orgullo. Yo soy lleno de alegría, la saber que yo soy tuyo y tú eres todito mío. El saber que yo soy tuyo y tú eres todito mío. La una.
All right. So we're going to have our We Come Together team come on up and do their thing. And then after that, we will bless our offerings and bring this in for landing. Coming up, Sherry.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning, Sharon.
What a lesson. Oh my goodness. How about that for Kamatara? Honestly, I kind of had this attitude of, yeah, whatever. But after that lesson, wow. I think I'm going to be a puddle. Did anybody experience deja vu this morning?
Yeah.
Anybody? Nobody? Nobody slept an extra hour because the hour went back and you got to sleep it again? Okay, yeah, you'll figure out I'm weird. So we come together. We all have our own reasons for coming and being a part of this community, for making our pledges. We have things that we can offer others, and we have things that hopefully we can gain for ourselves. And I have somebody that would like to, or is willing to, share with us why she came to be part of this campaign. Maria, could you come up here, please?
Yay, Maria.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Maria Dion, and Victor and I chose to be part of the Pledge campaign again because, you know, we really see this place, RGCSL, as the container for our spiritual development. And, you know, gesture is, you know, we do, is really important to be a stand for who, you know, how we see the world that works for everyone, and the growth that we experience in our lives. So, you know, this is my spiritual community. This is our spiritual community, and that's why. So.
Okay, I think Mark is here. I think he can share with us. Can you tell us the temperature right now, Mark?
I might be able to do that. Moment of personal privilege. I can tell you now that when we did Pastor Appreciation Sunday, you actually, as a community, raised over $1,000 to give to Reverend Ebb, Reverend Gill, and Reverend Kamatara. And the person who did that wasn't able to be here that Sunday, but she's the one who was a catalyst. And I just want to give a little round of applause to Marilyn Kirk for doing that. Secondly, there's 50 people here in person today, and another 4 to 6 online for sure. And I just want you to realize, in 2 Sundays from now, we're having our Partnership Sunday, and this is what it's going to look like every Sunday. So we're on the cusp of something really good. So I have some other good news today, and I want to let you know where we're at in our partner campaign. And don't flip it over till I tell them, but go ahead.
Which one?
That one first. Yes. Okay. So one of the things you have an opportunity to do is commit your hours to the center. And we set a target goal of 2,000. We went high this year. Would you be happy if we already had about 600 or 700? That'd be pretty, because we only started a week ago. We did do a little teaser and we got a bunch of people in. Why don't you show them how many we actually have as of today? 1,050 hours.
Go, everyone. Woohoo.
All right. Our number of partners, last year we had 38, and our goal this year is 50, actually 55. And we're not going to be approaching unity until we actually have the Partnership Sunday. So they're not reflected in the totals yet, but they will be by the time it's all said and done. So as of today, our goal of 50, after a week, we're already at 25, 50% of the partners we need. This one almost makes me cry. We have a goal this year of 150,000, which is quite a bit, and 75,000 would have been our 50%, and you've already surpassed that. And so we're at 82,000, 54% of our goal. Thank you, gracias, whatever language you can say it in. We as a board really appreciate everything you're all doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Well, this is a great time then to bless our abundance. And so if you did get the email that has the link to the campaign and you haven't filled it out yet, this is your time, you know, today when you get home, click the link, fill out the form, do the thing. It really helps for planning purposes. It's a big deal. So you may think, oh, it doesn't, no, it really matters. So get into the email, click the link, do the thing. Thank you so much. So let's bless these, all this abundance, whether it's in your heart, in your checkbook, in your soul, all the places. So thank you, sweet Spirit, for these and all of your gifts. We are grateful for the provision for all of our ministry needs and more. We are thankful for the infinite abundance in the universe, for our good health, our friends, our family, our loved ones who have gone before, and especially for the opportunity to express our love and appreciation to each other. So in this moment of gratitude, we allow ourselves to appreciate the abundance and prosperity that comes to the center now. Each gift and giver is blessed and valued. So please join me in anchoring this prayer by saying, and so it is. Are we doing birthdays? Because it's the first Sunday of the month. So anyone have a November birthday? Just curious. If you feel comfortable, we'd like to invite you. Actually, we do a sweet thing here for birthdays. And so I'd like to ask you to just think for a moment, what quality of the divine would you like to welcome into your life this year? Okay. All right. So, and say your name and then the quality of the divine you'd like.
I'm Abigail Shire, and the quality I'd like to invite is abundance.
All right.
I'm Jolene, and I would have to say clarity.
Awesome.
Stanley Perry, more grandkids.
Awesome. Woo-woo. Little Coco Pelli action, more grandkids. Ole. Any other November birthdays? Oh, I missed one. Oh my goodness. Hi.
Daryl.
Mm-hmm. And what would you like? We'll know the best and highest good. Absolutely. All right. So we're going to sing happy birthday to our November babies.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Talia, come on down. We're going to have a closing song, and an affirmation, and then oodles and oodles of comidas muy bien. Okay.
So, believe it or not, we are at our closing. But it isn't a real closing. It's a temporary closing. Even though you may hear the word closing, because we're continuing in the social hall. So, what a joy. I know you can hear me now, that we have been able to celebrate together today. Yay! Don't forget to take advantage of our prayer garden offered by our practitioners right after service. You see chairs over here at the side as usual. And to share your written prayer request in the back, in the little box that we have in the rear of the sanctuary. And, of course, come and join us for food and festivities, friendship and gathering in the social hall after we finish our service here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Talia. And you'll see some percussion instruments on the stage, and those are there for you. So if you want to join us in our closing song with percussion, please take something. And
Yo no soy marinero, yo no soy marinero, por ti seré, por ti seré, por ti seré.
A la mar que se vaya, a la mar que se vaya, yo voy contigo para ver cómo vence.
Para ver cómo vence la enemigo, y arriba, y arriba. Ay, arriba, y arriba, y arriba, y yo no soy marinero, yo no soy marinero. por ti seré, por ti seré, por ti seré.
Ay, te pido, te pido. Ay, te pido, Señor.
Que se acabe la bomba de nuestro son, ay arriba, ay arriba. Ay arriba, ay arriba, ay arriba, ay rey, yo no soy marinero.
Yo no soy marinero, por ti seré, por ti seré, por ti seré. Bamba.
Bamba.
Awesome. All right. Do we have the coolest spiritual community ever? I'm just saying. All right. Our affirmation for today is I am blessed by those who have gone before me. I am blessed by those who have gone before me. Have an awesome meal. When you're sitting at the tables, please share the stories of your loved ones while you're eating. Mwah! Have a great week. Oh, thank you.
You are amazing by nature.